Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Take Back My Brain podcast. I am your host, Laurie Hammer, and today I have with me Dr. Liz Graves, and she is from Grapevine, Texas. She is a chiropractor and a weight loss expert, and we're going to dive into weight things, hormone things, brain things today. So hold on to your pants, sit in your seat, get some notes. Share this with your friends and your neighbors and your family and everybody who knows, that needs to hear stuff about weight loss and hormones and all sorts of brain things. So, Liz, thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you.
I know this is great. Liz is actually taking my practitioner course at the moment. So if any of you are practitioners out there, I do have Mind Thrive Academy that teaches you as a practitioner to rebuild the brain with different specific nutrients like amino acids and specific vitamins and minerals at therapeutic dosing. And we go through that whole thing, how to build the brain so that everything below the neck gets a lot easier to deal with. So I love having you in class, Liz. It's a lot of fun.
It's been amazing. I have to say, if there are any practitioners out there listening right now, Lori's class is just incredible. I was talking with a colleague and she was saying that she was a little intimidated, and I, just had to tell her that Lori makes this course so easy to
Oh, thank
understand.
you.
I feel very, competent and confident in implementing some of the strategies, and also knowing that when I have questions, you're there.
Yeah,
It's phenomenal though. I'm super, super excited to be able to start helping people with it. It's been
I love
amazing.
it. Thank you so much. Those are very sweet words. Awesome. So I've been loved to getting to know you, and your story is amazing. Can you share like how you got from A to Z? I know you're not totally to Z because we're not at the end of life, but how did you get from the beginning and then you became a chiropractor and now you're a weight loss expert? You have a great story. I want to hear it.
Yeah, so I did not grow up wanting to be a doctor, and I ended up becoming a chiropractic patient and then a chiropractic employee. And then I really saw the true miracle of chiropractic through that journey. As a patient myself, it wasn't that big of a deal. My symptoms went away. My sciatica pain that I'd had since I was a kid went away. But when I was working in the practice and I saw people coming in with high blood pressure or acid reflux, um, being able to change what they were doing, get their spine adjusted, and conditions were resolving, that they didn't need medication. The big thing that spoke to me was the kiddos. So we had a lot of kids coming in, kids with ear infections, kids with colic, kids with on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And what I saw was these kids just healing, and adjusting and animals is kind of the same thing. There is very little placebo effect. They just
Right.
know it's working and they just work better, versus once we're adults, it's kind of like, did that work? Da, 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 da,
Yep.
I still got pain,
Yep.
it's been here a long time. So just seeing all those miracles, that's really what inspired me to become a chiropractor. I was terrified of science classes. I did not do well in high school in science. I was an English lit major because I didn't
Oh,
want to take science or math. And then I get called to this higher purpose of
uh-huh.
helping people get their health back and becoming a chiropractor. And it was terrifying. And I joke, I kind of almost had a nervous breakdown 6 months from graduation, because I knew why I was doing it. It was a purpose driven reason to go to chiropractic school, to share this with the world. And yet it had not crossed my mind that I was going to now be a healthcare provider in charge of other people's health. And it terrified me.
I bet.
So yeah, that was quite the journey. And then I was in practice. I've had a lot of different practices. I've worked for others. I worked for myself, and I've moved around a lot. I've volunteered overseas as a chiropractor, and then about a decade ago, gosh, it's been that long, 8 to 10 years ago, I moved back to Texas and I started helping people with weight loss. My chiropractic practice, I taught nutrition, I taught
Mhm.
exercise. It wasn't just adjusting, because health is not just one thing.
Correct.
And so when I got back here to Texas, I was about to open up a chiropractic practice, and some things just fell into place where I was partnering up with a friend to do weight loss first while I was getting the other ready. And it just got so busy so quick, it became a full-time
Mm.
thing. And so I've been doing that for, gosh, almost a decade now. And I
Really.
love it. And it's a lot of fun. And I love helping people just feel good in their skin, find
Yeah,
that confidence and really be empowered. That's my big word is I want people to be empowered with knowing what to do, knowing how to get there, knowing how to stay there, knowing how to judge their own progress and their own wants and needs.
I love it. That's so key. I mean, because yeah, you're so good at giving, and I'm sure you're getting a lot back for that as well. It's awesome. So let's dive into weight loss. You have a program called Back to Real Food, and but it's so much more than that. Because can you fix your weight by exercise and diet?
Not very well. It's gonna be real frustrating.
Right,
I
and
think that's the
all the
most
people are like, I'm going to
frustrating
turn this
way.
podcast off because that's what I've been doing, and I don't want to do anything else. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I struggled with my weight from the time, I mean, I was heavy during puberty and then late high school, I lost a bunch of weight and then I gained it back freshman 15 plus some. And then I had a long battle and I did what most people do, which is eat less, exercise more,
yep.
go on a crazy diet, exercise more, do a different diet, exercise more. And that is the most frustrating way to
Mhm.
lose weight. And I always joke, when I meet with somebody new, I have this list of all the diets out there, and I'm like, "What have you done?" And they're like, "Oh, I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done that." And I said, "Let's just pick it apart for a minute. Like, they're all the same diet. They just have a different name. Like,
Right.
this
Yep.
diet is a low calorie diet called this, but this diet named this is also really just a low calorie diet. And the
Yeah.
fastest way to tank your metabolism is to undereat for a long time.
Hmm.
So all these diets are just making the problem worse.
Can you kind of dive into that? Why does it tank your metabolism when you're eating less calories? Because logically, we're thinking, well, if we eat less, then our body should lose weight. It's kind of like somebody has anorexia. If they don't eat, goodness, they lose a ton of weight. But why doesn't it work that for people who are just eating less calories?
It's a great question. So the logic is, and what we've been taught, and the dogma is that weight is a result of calories in and calories out. But that's just not the case. The body always is adapting. The body's going to adapt to what you're doing. So, when you first start eating less food, of course you're going to lose weight.
Yeah.
And you get really excited. So you're like, this is working. I'm going to keep doing this. But the problem is the body adapts to eating less and it
Hmm.
stops losing weight because the body is smart. And then the next thing is, okay, well, I'm not losing weight anymore. I got to cut more calories or exercise more. And you might start losing weight again, but now the body's adapting to living on less. And so this long-term low calorie dieting or this long-term over exercising so that you create a calorie deficit ends up adapting the body to slow down metabolism. Yes, anorexics will lose weight under eating for a long time, but when you look at them, do they look healthy? They're
No.
not losing healthy weight. They're losing muscle mass. They're
No.
losing the structural fat from their face. They're losing a bunch of water weight. They're not healthy as a result of it. And as a doctor, my first and primary focus is the health of the body. A
Right.
healthy body, a healthy metabolism is the way you're going to have healthy weight loss.
Right. And the body is a survival mechanism, right? And so
Hmm.
when you are constantly creating a deficit, it's going to hold on to what it needs to survive in the long run, right?
Hmm. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. And then, that creates these whole other cycles of stress and anger and resentment, and all these other things that we're holding in,
Yeah.
that also makes it more challenging to have a healthy metabolism, to have healthy hormones, to be able to get to those goals.
Right. Right. So what do you do? What do
What
you do? Because
do I do? The
what do you
secret
do?
sauce.
We have all these, what do I want to say, myths. We've got bad information flowing out there. I mean, everybody's tracking their BMI.
Mhm.
Not that I'm against keto and fasting, because everybody who listens to this podcast knows that I teach that. I'm a proponent of that. Like, there's so many different diets that you were talking about, right? So which ones have you done? And some of them have worked, some of them haven't. So how do you filter through that?
Mhm. Well, as I was failing at weight loss myself for all those years, I tried them all, is what I say. I tried them all. Now, what I do when I'm working with my patients is I put people through more of a cyclic approach. So we're going
Okay.
to have a window of time where yes, you are losing, you're eating less and you're losing weight. But what's happening during that time is we're very strategically putting the body into a therapeutic ketosis where, not the keto diet, but we're putting the body into a state of ketosis where it is starting to use the stored fat as energy. Because so when we gain weight or we have extra fat, that's just stored energy. That the stored energy the body's not using. 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So
Mm,
anybody out there that's counting calories, if you have extra fat, your body has this storage, but it's being stubborn about using it. So during the first part of the cycle, we focus on getting the nutrition dialed in. So you're getting the right amount of protein and the right amount of carbohydrates. And we're getting the body to start tapping into that stored fat in the body so that you can successfully be losing weight. I'm with you as far as every diet has a health benefit,
hmm.
and every diet can also cause harm used the wrong way.
Correct.
So, there's nothing wrong with doing a ketogenic or a carnivore or a vegan or a juice fast or those different things, but you got to use them in the right dose at the right time in the right way for the right person. And so our first cycle is we're getting the body um, just all the metabolic organs to work right again. So I talk about, it's your brain, it's your taste buds, it's your stomach, it's the stomach acid, it's the intestines, what they're absorbing, it's the pancreas releasing the insulin. It's how all these organ systems are working together. So we're going to be eating real food. We're going to dial in the right amount of protein to maintain muscle. And now that I know more about protein, the neurotransmitters, getting the brain waking up like Laurie teaches. You're going to, again, you need some carbohydrates going in, because if you just cut out all your carbs and your body doesn't remember what to do with carbs, guess what's going to happen? Eventually, you're going to need to eat carbs, or you're going to eat carbs and you're going to blow it all. So the first cycle is really focused on getting the metabolism fired up, maximizing fat loss, and maximizing metabolism. And then the second part of the cycle is more of a refueling phase where the person's going to eat a high calorie diet, and we're going to make sure that their body stabilizes there. They're
Hmm.
able to keep the weight off as they increase the calories back up. And this is that kind of revving up. We've just gotten the metabolism working right and everything working right together now inside the body in harmony. Now we want to teach the body to keep that momentum going using more food, more calories, nutrient dense stuff, the stuff that's really going to give you energy, leave you
Right.
satiated, heal your body.
Yeah, I love it. Can we take a step back? Because you said something interesting about therapeutic ketosis and the ketogenic diet. So you're getting people into therapeutic ketosis as opposed to just doing the ketogenic diet. So can you divulge the difference between those two?
Yes. So there's a lot of ways that you can put the body into ketosis. Probably the most popular that everybody's heard about is the ketogenic diet
Right,
because it's named
right.
after that. And I'm sure you've probably shared with somebody on your podcast, but the ketogenic diet came about. I want to say, was it the 20s or 50s? It was I think it
20s.
was the 20s,
Mm-hmm.
to help treat kids with seizures, people
Yep.
with seizures, because it helped the brain work better. So there's this way of using a low carb diet to heal the body. Now, again, let me backtrack. I'm diverging now. The keto diet puts you into ketosis by cutting out all your carbs
Yep.
for a long time, which short windows of time of doing ketosis can be really healing. Depending
Mm-hmm.
on the person, what you're trying to heal, there's great ways to go into ketosis to heal the gut. There's, obviously it worked on the people with epileptic seizures.
Yep.
There's ways to just cut out all your carbs for a window of time and go into ketosis and do healing for the body. But the long-term plan can't be to never eat carbs again, because the body also needs carbs for hormone production. It's unrealistic to think you're never going to eat a carb again. Your body needs to be able to use both fat, ketones, and carbohydrates as fuel sources. Now, as I mentioned, there's other ways to get the body into ketogenic states. So one way is a fasting mimicking diet. So when you're doing a fasting mimicking diet, which is a very low calorie type of meal for however long the right window of time is for the condition you're working with, that will put the body into ketosis without having to cut out carbs.
Right.
Another way would be a water fast. Another way might be a broth fast. There's a lot of different ways to get the the benefits of the body producing those ketone bodies as an alternate fuel source without going on a keto diet.
Right. And can you use a keto diet and never get into therapeutic ketosis?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say yes. Let me think about that off the top of my head. I would say yes, because if your body is not producing ketones and you're doing a common thing with Atkins, you're doing, females doing way too much protein and not enough fat back in the 90s. I was one of them.
Oh yeah, me
And
too.
what happens is your body takes all that extra protein, converts it into glucose, and your body's still getting glucose. It's just doing the work on its own, taxing the liver, taxing the kidneys. For me, I ended up with kidney stones. Not fun.
Mhm.
So
Right.
yeah,
Definitely.
you can definitely do a keto diet wrong and cause more harm than good.
Yeah. So and it's not really the ketogenic diet is not the issue. It's just the fact that your body hasn't adapted. So we have to take a step back and get the body adapted so that you do thrive in the ketogenic diet or the carnivore or the bone broth or, whatever it might be. And I know you and I are on the same page here, is just diet variation. So you never ever do
Hmm.
the same thing all the time because your body has to be able to be metabolically flexible, right?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Metabolic flexibility. That's like the word of the day or two words of the
Hmm.
day because that's technically two words. So
Hmm.
write that down, metabolically flexible. And that's what Dr. Liz is teaching about. Like, so that your body can, I know, because I've been doing, fasting and keto and, carnivore and in and out of all these things for so long that I can get into ketosis, like within 24 hours. Where when I first started, I'm like, what the heck is wrong with my body? It's been a week and I'm not into ketosis yet.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because you're like, because let's talk about why that is, especially for women, because
Hmm.
when you're trying to lose weight, we kind of have some hormonal blocks, whether that would be insulin, so your blood sugar levels, your sex hormones. Like, talk to us how that plays a role and how do we look at that objectively so that we're not beating ourselves up?
Hmm. As far as getting into ketosis, I would say the biggest thing that I've noticed in the past 5 years of myself personally is that it can be really hard to get into ketosis if I'm over exercising, if or not even over exercising, if I'm just exercising the way I want to. I love yoga. I could do yoga every day. I do hot yoga, and what I notice is when I'm active every day, it's really hard to get my blood sugar down and my ketones up. And
Right?
so even if you're that person, I'm not a runner, but if you're that runner and you love the runner's high and you love to run every day,
Yep.
that's one thing that can really, put the body under a physical stress that keeps you out of ketosis. Stress alone, just emotional stress, that's another one. So, what will knock me out of ketosis faster than exercise? And again, this is a gradient. Like I can eat sugar and my body can jump right back into ketosis.
Yep.
I'm over exercising, it doesn't bounce back. And what we've been taught is, oh, sugar's the enemy, sugar's the devil, sugar's doing it. It's not just the sugar. So it's harder for me to get back into ketosis if I'm over exercising. And then even worse than that is if I'm stressed, under high stress and not getting good sleep.
Yep.
That is nearly impossible to really get my body into a good state of ketosis.
Right.
Um, and just going back, the world is busy. It's fast paced. So many people are so stressed,
Hmm.
um, and they're struggling with their weight. And then when your body's not flowing with these different energy sources, whether it's carbs and fats and
Yeah.
ketones, it's harder to lose weight. It's harder for your body to produce hormones, which then also cascades into you don't feel good when everything's out of balance. So it just the problem perpetuates the problem.
Yeah.
So we
Oh,
have to start
totally. Absolutely.
unraveling it.
Yeah. I want you to dive into that a little bit because I think this is so key because I'm going to release this in May. So this is going to be around Mother's Day. So I'm hoping all these women are listening and that like from that point on, happy Mama Day and let's shift the things that we're doing as moms. And women in general, not just mamas, but speak to that more emotional piece because I think we get so stuck on looking at the number, the weight, whether it's our pant size, whether it's the scale number, whether it's the BMI, and instead of focusing on, like you're saying, like it might not be the sugar, maybe it is the stress you're under, maybe it's toxicity, maybe it's other things, but what can we do emotionally to reduce, the stress from day to day, because we're stuck in this, like, you as a woman, you got to be, 150 different things every single day. And you feel guilty for taking a break. You feel guilty for, going to get a massage or whatever it might be. Like, can you speak to that?
Yes. So I am not a mom. I don't have that personal experience of, there is
You're a
something that just,
woman and you're a
but
busy
I'm a
woman
woman.
that
I'm a busy, I understand that part. But from the outside looking in, I watch my sister with her kids. I watch the way my mom raised me and my sister, and I watch my friends. And I always just say, like, there must be something that happens as soon as you give birth or adopt a child, or as soon as that child is now your responsibility, where there is just this mom guilt that just,
yeah,
like, it just whooshes over women that I see. And again, like, I haven't had that personal experience, so I don't know if I'd be able to overcome it differently. I think it's a woman thing. I really do. I think there's just this, we are trying to be so much, and we are trying to be everything. And there's just this heaviness that we tend to put on ourselves that we would never inflict that on somebody else. And then from that perspective of, having a mom that is an amazing mom, she gave everything to us. She would sacrifice anything for her kids.
right.
The best thing in my entire life was when I came home from college and she had finally started taking care of herself. She started going to the chiropractor and getting adjusted, which then meant she started eating better and being more active. And
Yeah.
I came home from college to visit. It was like over, it was December, Christmas break or something. And she came home from school and she's like up and working and doing and stuff and
Aw,
cooking dinner and all this stuff. And I'm like, Mom, what's going on? Because normally she was a teacher. She's retired now. She would come home and at 4 o'clock, she'd be on the couch,
done.
just, I'm done. Like, I'm just done for like an hour so I can get up and then go do dinner and kids and all
Yep.
this.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, I wish you had done this for yourself 20 years ago. Like, I
Yeah.
just always think back that. So I always tell moms, there is nothing that you can sacrifice for your kids that will mean more to them than taking care of yourself, so you can be that vibrant example, that energized, capable person that isn't living and under that guilt or
Right.
under that low energy. So I
Yeah.
would say, let go of the guilt. I always tell my patients, we're all doing the best we can with the day we're having.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, even like the jerk that cut you off, like, they're doing the best they can that day with what they
Yeah.
had. Like, and our best is different day by day. So
Yeah.
let go of the guilt. And that whole saying, self-care is not selfish. Really think about, like, what you remember about your mom, maybe, or what you wish your mom had been willing to do for herself,
Yeah.
so that her life was better. And model that the way you want it to be modeled for your children,
Oh,
or
yeah.
your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't get it back. Like, this is the only body we get. This is the only brain
Mhm.
we get. They don't do
Mhm.
brain transplants, and it wouldn't be your brain if they did. Um, you're saying, look at your mom. I look back at my mom, and there's a lot of wonderful things about her. And at the same time, she was sick all the time. Like, she never really took care of herself. And she ended up with early onset dementia. And so my mission, my whole entire life has been not to be like that. You know,
Mm.
and because I want to be the grandma crawling around on the floor, with
Mhm.
my grandkids and hiking with them in the Grand Canyon when I'm 70.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I
Um,
do. And that's exactly what I tell my patients when I'm working with them is, I'm like, it's your choice right now. Are you going to be the grandmother at Disney World on the bench because you can't chase after the kids? Or are you going to be the grandma that's running around with them? My mom, I'm so lucky. She started taking care of her health when I was in college, because
mhm.
she's almost 80, and she will be out on the playground with my niece and my nephew, and she will be running up the slide with them. She will be running around the playground with them,
Love it.
literally better and faster and easier than most 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that is our choice. We get to choose what we're doing right now, where we're going.
Yeah. And that's so key, that it is our choice. Like, you can use all of this stuff, this busy, whatever it is. If you want, you can use that as your excuse, because I've used it. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm just too busy and I can't exercise today. I got this going on,
Hmm.
that going on, but I can still choose, and maybe I don't get everything else done, but I'm healthier because of it, right? I'm healthier
Mhm.
because I chose to, to go for a walk or to sit down and breathe or to sit down and read. I mean, there's days where I'm like, you just feel so exhausted. And I know like I have so much to do, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just sit here and gonna read for an hour. And then you get so much more done when you're done, when
Mhm.
you're done reading or whatever. Maybe you took a nap. I mean, God forbid we take a nap as a woman. Um,
I'm pretty good about taking regular naps. I get up really early, so I do. Like as a chiropractor, we always had this split shift. So like it's kind of
uh-huh,
like you wake up really early, work, and you take a
uh-huh.
little power nap midday, and then you
Yeah.
know get back to work.
Yeah, I'm really into like those power naps right now. I've always envied my husband because he could just like lay down he comes home for lunch every day. And so he would take a nap every day, like 15, 20 minutes, just goes and lays down, goes to sleep, wakes up every single day. Just make me mad. I'm like, "Ugh, I can't do that, Guess what? I can do that.
You can do that now.
I can
I
do
would
that
say,
now. Like,
and
it's not a
even
bad
like what
thing.
you're saying about reading, like taking that time to read, whether it's educational and it
Yeah.
inspires you, or it's fiction and it's making you more empathetic
Yeah.
in your world. I mean, there's going to be value to just having those moments to yourself where you're
Yeah,
nourishing yourself.
absolutely. Yeah, and just picking things that you love to do. Like,
Hmm.
I stopped going to the gym, I don't know how many years ago, because I was like, you know what? I really hate going to the gym. It was a nice gym. There's nice people at the gym. I really don't like going to the gym. And so I love, doing yoga at home. I do my own exercises. We've got a rowing machine. I walk 4 miles with my dogs every day. Those are the things I love doing. And it was when I gave myself permission to do the things that I really love doing and not go to a busy, noisy gym that
Hmm.
I like to be by
Hmm.
myself. And
Hmm.
it was just relieving. It's like a weight came off my shoulders. And I think that really helps shift my hormones too. And when your hormones shift, then your
Hmm.
weight can shift, right? And so
Hmm.
I don't think we take into account what role emotions and holding on to, I've got to be everything can do to the weight that we're trying to lose. So we're kind of on this hamster wheel. Is that how
Hmm.
you would describe it? Like you're on this hamster?
Absolutely. And especially with that exercise, as we talked about in the beginning, the fastest way to get frustrated with weight loss is exercise and diet because
Yeah.
it doesn't get you very far. And I always tell my patients, you don't need to exercise at all to lose any of the weight that we're going to lose. Take exercise out of the weight loss category and put exercise into a category of what you want exercise to do that it's good at. Exercise is crappy at weight loss. Don't try to exercise for weight loss. Exercise is wonderful for your cardiovascular system and your pulmonary system and your balance and your muscles and your brain and your joints. So do something that you love doing that's good for one of those things that you want to change. And what happens is you're going to see it improve, and that's motivating versus when you're trying to use it for exercise and it's not working. If you're trying to increase your cardiovascular, or you're trying to run farther, or you're trying to build muscle, like those are things that you can measurably see change with exercise. And so then you get that positive feedback loop and you get to like what you're telling me is enjoy exercise, which
Yes.
yes, that makes it more effective and it makes
Yes.
you keep doing it and you
Yes.
enjoy doing it and it's not a punishment to do it. And that's the best place to be.
Yeah. No, I love it. Can you speak a little bit? How does hormones or lack of hormones, so like estrogen, progesterone, we'll talk about sex hormones in particular. How does that play a role in your weight loss? So there's a lot of women that their hormones are tanked, or maybe they're on hormone replacement therapy, their thyroid hormone is off. How does that affect things?
So the one of the ways I explain it, just with how I approach weight loss with the protocol that I've kind of developed here,
Mhm.
is that one of the biggest things that I see as a problem for a lot of women, especially as we're aging, is that if the metabolism is slowing down, we're carrying more weight around the midsection.
Mhm.
More weight around this midsection is called visceral fat. It's fat that's building up in and around the organs. One of the favorite places for the body to stick that visceral fat when the body's not metabolically flexible is in the liver.
Mm,
And your liver is, I call the liver its grand central station. It's
right.
where everything goes. It's where all your body's hormones are made. It's where your body detoxifies. Everything is there in the liver. So if you have more visceral fat, those hormone conversions can't happen correctly. Also, when you have more body fat, your body tends to produce more estrogen, making you more weight loss resistant.
Right.
So it really, again, back to this hamster wheel of the problem makes the problem harder to fix. So one of the biggest things that I'll see is as we're reducing that visceral fat by getting the body metabolically flexible, getting the metabolism fired up and working right, is that as you take the stress and strain off of those internal organs that are working with metabolism, they can do their job better. Now,
Hmm.
there's nothing that we can do to avoid that our hormones are going to change as we age.
Right.
But the speed at which they change and how effective our body is at making hormones, that is lifestyle driven. And we can change that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. What are some big things that people can do? So top three things they can do lifestyle wise.
Ooh, okay. So my number one, I tell everybody all the time, naming the company's back to real food, eat real food. I tell my patients, eat real food 75% of the time as the bare minimum. So what is real food? Real food is the stuff that doesn't have an ingredient label. It is, beef, chicken, fish. It is broccoli, carrots, potatoes. It is literally, the perimeter of the grocery store. It is
Right.
the things that that they would recognize 200 years ago, before the industrial revolution happened, before we started making all this processed food. So you don't have to be perfect and eat real food all the time, but make sure that that is the core part
Yeah.
of what you're putting in, so that you have a good energy source. So that would be my number one. I would say hydration is another one. A lot of the time, you know, hydration, minerals, electrolytes, all of those things play a role in when the body's dehydrated, the cells are dehydrated, good stuff can't get in, bad stuff can't get out. So not just drinking more water, because I have people coming in all the time drinking a ton of water because they hear
Yeah.
drinking water and being hydrated is going to speed up their metabolism. Um, it will if the water gets into your cells. It won't if the water goes straight through your body and out the toilet. I've had people coming in drinking 100 ounces of water and they're severely dehydrated because the water is
Mm,
just going straight through them.
right.
So
Right.
I would say, don't guess at this kind of stuff. Find somebody that can help you measure where your hydration is, whether it's a body composition, or if it is, there's a lot of different ways to test it. But make sure that if you are, that you're doing something with some minerals and some electrolytes, getting some help if you need to know how to use those properly,
Yeah.
and then measuring again, making sure your hydration levels, if they're low, are improving. Because it's kind of like exercise. If you're doing it and
Yeah.
not getting results, it's a waste of time. If you're drinking the
Right.
water and spending all the time in the bathroom and you're not getting hydrated, it's a waste of time.
Yep. Then you're frustrated.
Then you're frustrated and then you quit.
Right.
Um, the third thing I would say, honestly, kind of back to what we were talking about with emotions, is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. The things that you say to yourself, you would never say to another person. We are so hard on ourselves and we're so
Yeah.
critical of ourselves. Take a moment and just think, would I ever say that to somebody I loved?
Hmm.
Why would I be saying that to myself? The subconscious is always listening. So
Yeah.
tell yourself loving, beautiful things about yourself so that it sinks in, and that is the person and the life you get to enjoy.
Absolutely. Because life and death, as scripture says, is in the power of the tongue. So what we
Hmm.
speak, what we think, especially the stuff we say out loud, has a profound effect energetically, not just to us, but to everybody around us too, and how they view us and interact with us and, all those kind of things. Yeah. So good. Um, what do you feel about, like, what do I want to say? Like the shake diets or just, just doing, mm, bone broth powder or collagen. How do you feel about those when you're talking about eating real food? I know that's going to
Hmm.
be a question that somebody's going to ask.
Hmm.
What about protein powders and those types of things?
Yeah, so I don't love protein powders. I typically take my patients off of protein powders for at least a window of time, because for a lot of the population, the protein powders really raise glucose, insulin and
Yeah.
glucose in the body. They act like a carbohydrate in the body, and so I have a great testimonial about that. One of my employees is a personal trainer, and so she is fit, she's active, she does CrossFit, 3, 4, 5 days a week. Like, she is an athlete. And she was testing her glucose and ketones. And her fiance was doing the same thing at the time. They were kind of eating similar, and he just had no problem getting into ketosis and no problem with blood sugar. He had a lot more muscle than she did.
Sure. Yeah.
Which so it processed differently. And so she was just so frustrated. And I was like, are you still doing those protein shakes? Because, again, personal training background, fitness background,
Yep.
the go-to is those protein shakes because you got to get a lot of protein. You don't have a lot of time. You're trying to get it between clients.
Yep.
And so that was her habit. I said, just try taking them out for a week. Let's see what happens. Everything fell into balance. Blood sugar dropped,
Mhm.
ketones went up. She felt great. Had no idea. And it was a good product. It was a clean product.
Right.
So, let's start off with a really clean, healthy protein can jack up your glucose response.
Yeah.
So, not even getting into the way isolates, the soy isolates, soy is probably the worst thing we could ever consume
Right.
because of the amount of GMO and pesticides and stuff that's going to go into us. So for the protein powders, I like to take them out for a little bit, kind of like an elimination diet,
Yeah.
and then reintroduce them, see how the body does. You'll know the difference if you take them out for a little bit. Um, as far as collagen, I really like the use of collagen if people are not going to be eating collagen rich sources. So, it's real uncommon for us to be doing, regular bone broth or eating the connective tissue or eating organ meats. I think
Mhm.
those are all great things to be doing, but not everybody's up for that. So I do think that the collagen powders are a great compromise for a lot of people to get this collagen in. A
Mhm.
lot of people like it with their, you know, coffee in the morning. It's a great thickening agent if you want to use it for soups. And because we tend to get so many branched chain amino acids in our meat, we don't get a lot of the collagen fibers if we're
Right.
not eating the connective tissue and the gristle and the bone
Yeah.
broths and the marrow and all those places where we would find it. So I think it's a very good, easy. I find that it has less impact on glucose and ketones where it's not as it really doesn't impact people the same way that the protein powders do.
Mhm.
I think if you have access to some farm that has bone broth, or if you want to do your own bone broth, that's getting it in its natural state the way we would have had it is always best.
Always best.
Collagen powders are still going to be manufactured, they're still going to go through a processing, they're still going to be different. It is
Right.
important for those to make sure you're getting those with a clean product, so you don't want the cows to have a lot of pesticides and junk food because that's going to get passed through in the tissue. So that's one thing where I tell you want to make sure that that's really a really clean product if you're getting it. And there's a lot of good brands with that out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking on the toxicity of things, how does toxicity play a role in weight loss or not being able to lose weight?
Mm. Toxicity is a huge component, huge component that I think that um, it gets harder every day, and we're still learning how to do it better.
Right.
It's getting harder every day because there are more chemicals, and then there's an accumulation faster than our body can process it. So it is urgently important that we're all detoxing because our bodies, if we're not doing something to specifically detox at that cellular level, our
Mhm.
bodies can't do it on its own anymore. We've got too many chemicals in the environment, and we've created these forever chemicals that don't leave the environment and don't leave our bodies. So it's very important. Toxins in any animal, whether it's human or our food supply, toxins are going to get stored in the fat cell. I always say, now that the toxin's stored in the fat cell, guess what? Your fat has a job. It's protecting your body from that toxin. It
Right.
doesn't want to let it go. So you really do need to be able to help the body release toxins and properly bind and eliminate those toxins, because for a lot of people they get in this circular thing where they start kind of a detox, but they don't have something good to bind it and eliminate it, so it
Right.
gets recirculated as bile is reuptaken into the system to be reused.
Right.
And so yes, toxins make it very hard to lose weight, and they mess up the hormones, they mess up the brain, which is controlling a lot of the metabolism and the hormones and all the stuff. So
Yeah.
the toxicity component is huge. So, going back to eating more real food, less processed, that's going to put a big dent in not putting more in, but then also pairing that with detoxing,
Right.
um, you know, with a protocol that's going to actually get the toxins out.
Yeah, and just even cleaning up your home or cleaning up the products you put on your body so that you're
Hmm.
not absorbing more toxins or drinking clean
Hmm.
water that's not in a plastic bottle.
Yep.
is, I mean, all of that affects your metabolism as well. Is that correct?
Hmm.
Yeah, I love it.
Excuse
This
me.
is this is so good, Liz. Such a great conversation. And I think, especially we as women, we're always beating ourselves up because it's just not working. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
we're like we're talking before, you're on this hamster wheel and it's just not working. So I mean, I'm hoping that everyone is hearing like there's very key components here, because it's not just your diet. It's not just exercise, right? Those two things, while they may help a little bit, it's not going to get to the root causes, especially as we age. Why we can't lose weight or why all of a sudden we just started gaining weight. You transition into perimenopause or menopause, and all of a sudden you're like, what the heck just happened?
Hmm.
Your body just changes. And then as people, they come to you and they've gained weight, or even in the process of losing weight, how do you help them? I hate the movement of like body positivity and stuff.
Mm.
It's kind of there, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want the stigma around the question I'm asking, but as our body changes as a woman, it's kind of like before pregnancy, and after pregnancy. There's so many changes that go on. And I feel like even as, you're done having kids and then you're transitioning to perimenopause and you go into menopause, like there's a lot of things that are changing. So how do you help
Hmm.
women, deal with, their arms are looking different, their legs are looking different. I mean, because the things are going to change. We're not going to look like we were when we were 30. So what do you do to help women kind of embrace who they are in the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of that as we journey through weight loss with our patients, a lot of that happens organically from the inside out. When they finally start seeing that they're able to lose weight, there starts to, build this confidence. When they're losing weight in the right ways, in the right places, and they're looking healthier, like that's the one thing. When you're losing weight in a healthy way, people tell you not just you lost weight, like, oh my gosh, you look younger. Oh my gosh, you
Right.
lost weight. Like you look healthy. Um, and so I think some of that helps with we tend to focus on our flaws. I love using a body composition. I have a body composition that gives a visual report of where somebody's muscle and water and
Mm,
body fat and visceral fat are starting. And we talk about that, and we talk about, hey, you know what? um you're in the size that you wanted to get to, but you weigh 10 pounds heavier. Well, let's
mhm.
look. This is your muscle. Like that's a good
That's a
thing.
good thing. Yeah.
um Average muscle mass for most women is going to be about 80 to 95 pounds. I work with a lot of women where, because they carried extra weight for a lot of years, they have 100 pounds of muscle, they have 115 pounds of muscle, they have 125 pounds of muscle, and yet they're height to weight chart, that stinking BMI that we haven't thrown out
Oh.
already, tells them that, okay, you're 5'5", you should weigh 130 pounds, but they have 120 pounds of muscle. Like
Right.
they're never, like, unless you lose muscle, you
Muscle.
can't do that. So I work a lot with women on this education, this empowerment component of what makes up the weight, because if you lose 20 pounds of water, that's not going to do you any good. And your skin is going to be dehydrated and
Right.
loose and dull and not good. Versus if you lose 10 pounds of fat and gain 10 pounds of water, there's a net zero loss. But if you lose 10 pounds of fat, you're going to drop a clothing size. And if
Right.
you gain 10 pounds of water, your skin is going to be supple and more elastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're going to look younger and healthier.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I love to do, what I very like, it's one of my favorite things to do, is sit there and teach people that kind of stuff of
Yeah.
how to judge your progress, how to judge your body so that you can see, I'm not trying to fit into this box that the world wants me in. I'm not trying to fit into this height to weight chart that somebody made up, not knowing that I have this extra muscle. Really honing in on, where do I like my body?
Yeah.
Where do I feel good? Most women I work with that are in their, 50s and 60s, they don't want to necessarily be the same size they were in high school. They
Right.
don't want to be that small, but they want to look good and they want to be fit. And so we talk more about, what is that size goal? And again, we use that body composition because that helps gauge like, okay, in what is healthy body fat for a woman, 23 to 33% of your total body weight should be from fat.
Mm-hmm.
There's typically 3 to 4 clothing sizes. So
Oh
what that
yeah.
means, there's going to be like, there's going to be a middle size or two middle sizes and one lower and one higher, and there's a lot of sizes that are all going to be healthy for your body, but there's going to be one you like best. You
Right.
might like to be on the higher end because you want to be soft and curvy like Marilyn Monroe, or
Right.
you might want to be on the very lower end because you're a marathon runner and you want to be able to run better. Most
Yeah.
of the population likes to be right in the middle because it just fits their frame right. So I spent a lot of time on, you know, talking about really helping the person figure out what they want and what is beautiful to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
It's-
also I talk about, hey, sometimes stretch marks are your battle scars.
Right.
Like, loose skin, that's a battle scar. Like, oh my gosh, you lost 100 pounds. I've helped a lot of people lose 100 pounds or more. Guess what? There are limitations to matter. No matter how much I hydrate you, there's still going to be some looser skin
Loose
in
skin.
areas.
Yep. Yep.
But oh my gosh, you look so much better than when you were carrying that extra weight. You feel so much better. You could do so much more. So um, look at some of those flaws as where they've gotten you, what you've gone through to get them, and that they're not necessarily negative. They're a beautiful part of your story of what you've overcome.
I love that. That's so good, Liz. So good. So do you work with people virtually?
Mhm. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I love it. So I do have a brick and mortar. I'm here in the office right now, but we work coast to coast. I don't have anybody. Actually, we've had a couple of international. We had someone in Jamaica. We've had a couple of internationals, but yeah, we work coast to coast.
I love it. Yeah.
Mexico. We've done one in Mexico.
Good. So I will have Liz's information in the show notes so that if this resonates with you and you're like, oh, I really want to call and chat with her and work with her, whatever, that will be in the show notes for you because you have an amazing program and you're an amazing practitioner and I love this. So are there any final words sorry, my dog is creating havoc there. Are there any final words that you would like to share with my audience?
Oh, I just want to thank you for having me on. This was so much
Oh,
fun.
it's fun.
I've enjoyed it. I've learned so much from you. Again, any practitioners out there, reach out to Lori for her amino acid course. It really is very empowering, very life changing, and I'm excited to be able to use that. Last words for anybody in the audience that's listening. I would just say back to that: be kind to yourself. That's probably the biggest place to start. We get so hard on ourselves and we feel like we're not doing enough. And then it stops us from doing what we're capable of doing. So
Absolutely.
that would be the biggest takeaway, I would say.
I love it. Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate you more than you realize. And thank
Oh,
you
thank you.
everyone for listening. Make sure you share this podcast because you know that everybody needs to hear that. So share it with everybody you know. And I want to thank you for listening and I will see you in the next episode.